Hello YouTube, and welcome to a new video and hopefully new series that's going to be all about Ardacraft. And Ardacraft is a great server, and we're joined today by the server owner, Fornad.
Hello.
So first of all, what's Ardacraft?
Ardacraft is a server which is dedicated to recreating Tolkien's Middle-earth in Minecraft. So Middle-earth from the series Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. What we're trying to do with this server is create something which is entirely accurate to Tolkien's imagination and Tolkien's depiction of Middle-earth. So anything he ever wrote or drew or sent a letter to someone about Middle-earth, we're trying to recreate that here. We do take some inspiration from the movies, but ultimately we do try to stick to what Tolkien said. That's our main goal.
Yeah, so it's mainly based off pictures and drawings, which we'll get to later on, but less about the film. So if you really like something from the films, chances are it's not going to be here, or it's going to be even better than the films.
Yes, so a lot of the time the films did get stuff right and did get things pretty close to what Tolkien described, but ultimately what we try to do here is get it to the books and to what Tolkien described in the book. So that does allow quite a lot of creative leeway in some ways. Tolkien did leave a lot of empty spaces despite how detailed his world is, but there are certain things that we try to follow. And the other thing about the server, I think, which is important to mention, is that we are not a vanilla server. This is actually a modded server. I'm sure a lot of people on your channel will be familiar with the Conquest pack, which is what, of course, we are using, but it's a modified version of the Conquest pack. And because of the whole 1.8 controversy with the addition of the metadata, the removal of metadata, or at least the changing of the block system, it means that, of course, the Conquest system for adding new types of blocks doesn't really work anymore, or won't work anymore when it comes to 1.8. And so when that news came through, we decided to switch to a mod pack, which allows us pretty much complete creative freedom. So it's kind of a godsend for our builders that we can pretty much add any kind of block that we need to, considering how vast and how detailed and how diverse ultimately Tolkien's world is. We need that kind of freedom on this server.
Yep, and so obviously the back end doorway that you just saw then, we've got loads of nice little blocks. You've got these lanterns, obviously the dirt road you might have noticed. They're not just metadatas, these are actual full blocks that you can use. And like we were saying before about it being based off the book, not the film, this little field with the big tree here is actually the party tree and the party field from Bilbo's birthday.
Yeah, so if anyone who's familiar with the Hobbit movie set, you'll obviously realise that it's pretty different to the way this looks. The first thing that a lot of people say who aren't initiated with the books will say is, oh, you guys have houses instead of hobbit holes, and we do have hobbit holes, but the hobbits in the books also lived in small little houses, and we have that as well. So I guess we can continue on to Bywater, which is a village east of Hobbiton. As we can walk through, this is sort of the main part of Hobbiton itself. There's a few things just to look at. There's a post office, which we have here. It's not shut for some reason. And it's another one of these things which Tolkien mentioned in the books. There's a kind of a system of post offices across the Shire. So we're trying to include those in most villages. So yeah, that's one thing. There's also like a butcher, a market, all this stuff. I think there's a lot of thing to do with
stuck here.
Walk around it, yeah. There's a lot to do with kind of purpose, I think, which is quite important to our builds, and it's important to a lot of people's builds as well. Just to make sure everything makes sense and has a use in the world. So yeah, we can keep walking on. Now, the reason that we're not kind of walking from place to place here is that I would like to show in this video that what we're trying to do with this project is kind of create a continuous Middle-earth. The eventual intention is that you should be able to walk from Bag End to Mount Doom with no empty bits in between, or no warps in between. It's all a single continuous world. So I think that's important to show, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I joined the server after downloading the mod, I spent maybe an hour and a half just walking around the Shire, following these paths and exploring. There's so much to see, and so much yet that you still need to build as well. So
There's a lot still to do. Yeah, we're about halfway through the Shire, so you know, there's a lot of stuff we still need to get onto. So this is Bywater, or the beginning of Bywater, and this inn here is the Green Dragon, which people familiar with the movies only will still know. It's the inn that they put in Hobbiton in the movie set, but of course this is an inn that was actually in Bywater. And the reason we thought about the name Green Dragon, we tried to apply it to the build itself. So if you fly up a bit and look at it coming from above a little bit, it's green, it's got a green grassy roof, and it's kind of curled around like a dragon. So that's the sort of intention we went for there, and I think it turned out pretty well.
Yeah, it looks really nice, and I like the greenery, the bushes and everything all around the side, and the way it's like sort of builds up onto the actual roof with the flowers and stuff.
Yeah, it's built into the landscape in it. That's something that I found quite nice about our build, and especially with the Shire, you know, you can really blend buildings with the landscape itself a lot of the time.
Even this little beer garden feels very British. Obviously, going into like
Yeah.
countryside, and you've got these little coloured banners and stuff going around. It just feels very, well, British, which is what the Shire is based off, isn't it?
Exactly, yes. So, yeah, I was about to say, part of the reason, or part of the, I think, out of anywhere in Middle-earth, the Shire is most definitely inspired by a very specific place and a very specific time. And when Tolkien grew up in around rural Warwickshire in the 1890s, he kind of has these very fond, idyllic memories of the rural England, and that's what he based the Shire off of, kind of an idealized version of England in that time. So that's kind of what a lot of our inspiration, a lot of our historical research comes from. This is Bywater Pool, by the way. Bywater is called it because it's by the water, which is a river in the Shire. The Hobbits were very inventive with their names. And something else you might have, yeah, the brown water is something that we're beginning to add now. So that's just a biome change, but essentially what it does is, you know, water in real life, especially in a river like this in very fertile plains, it's never a perfect shade of blue. It's always kind of a muddy colour, and that's what we're trying to do with the water there. And you'll see that the style is fairly similar to that of Hobbiton. It uses a similar roof type, but something I think I'll try and show in this video is, you know, just how varied our style can be, and how we change it according to where it is in the Shire, and you know, what the demands of the environment create. So yeah, this is the Great East Road, which is the main road that runs through Eriador. As you can see, it's a bit of a different material. It's got some slabs in it, and that's because it was made originally by the dwarves and then by Arnor, which is the sister kingdom to Gondor that doesn't exist anymore. Essentially, they are a kingdom of men, and therefore they use stone in their original road. Now it's a very old road at this point, and a lot of it's fallen apart, but you can still see evidence of that. Here is a barn. I think it's a good thing to show just as we walk through. We do a lot of research into farming and how farming worked back then. So we have a lot of barns. We have a lot of different field types. So fields for cattle, fields for crops, and so on, and a kind of crop rotation system where, you know, you have certain crops in certain fields at different times of the year in different years, depending on how much how fertile the soil is. So just an example of detail in our fields. Even in our fields, you'll see that on the ground we have cow pats, which again is just something which doesn't, you know, you would never expect to see in a kind of Minecraft field, but we try to include that.
I just want to really mention this little side path here at the side of the farms. I noticed this when I was exploring it myself, and it feels so nice, and you do get these all over the place in rural parts and in between fields and stuff. And I've just fly speed up a bit, this little gate here, so the fact that you have a little fence and a little gate to actually move in between the two fields, it just adds to the realism and purpose and everything, and it just feels so natural and good.
Well, we're going to the Three Farthing Stone, and then we'll turn off the road, and yeah, we're getting quite close to it now. But I think just actually as we're walking along, it might be a good idea to talk about the scale that we have on the server. So obviously the server, well, potentially not obviously, but the server is not one-to-one. This is not the size of the actual Shire in Middle-earth. It has to be smaller just because, you know, we don't live for 1,000 years, unfortunately, and we can never, you know, build something which is literally the size of Europe. So we have to scale it down, but the scale is 1 to 58, so it's a 58 of the size of the real Shire and of the real Middle Earth. I say real. The one in the books, basically, or the one in the movies. But anyway, yeah, that's just to scale it down. But hopefully, it's not so scaled down that it doesn't feel real. I tried to make it so that it still feels like it could be a real place. Anyway, this is the Three Farthing Stone. This is a marker which is between the Three Farthings, and it wasn't built by the hobbits themselves. It's an Arnorian ruin, actually, like a lot of other things in the Shire are. Well, a few things anyway. And it marks the boundary between, or the marker between the North Farthing, West Farthing, and East Farthing, essentially.
I think another thing to mention is you've talked about the scale, and obviously it's set about Middle Earth, but the time frame as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So it is set fairly close to the events of Lord of the Rings. In fact, during in some ways. It's set 5 years after Bilbo leaves Bag End to go off to Rivendell, but 12 years before Frodo actually goes out to Rivendell himself and gets chased by the Black Riders. So something, again, the movies don't show. There's a very wide gap between when Bilbo left and when Frodo left the Shire. So this is the road. And this is a nice little place to walk down into and kind of explore. It's a more wild part. And it's actually the route that the hobbits took through the Shire. So if you look at the ground here, you'll see the little hobbit footprints. And this is something we tried to do on the server. So we're trying to actually mark out the path the hobbits took. So if anyone wants to follow the path that they took in the books, they can do this just by following the trail.
Reminds me of the things that you see on the road for kids to get to school.
Exactly, yeah. It's a bit like that, yeah. For people who can't follow the route off the top of their heads. This here actually is kind of like a cool little detail which I really appreciate. You'll see the logs here are kind of burnt looking, and this is where a small forest fire has happened. And so after forest fires you tend to get fireweed growing up. This is what this stuff is. It's also called, it's got another name but I can't quite remember off the top of my head now. Can't remember. Anyway, so this stuff tends to grow up, so you get a lot of new plants immediately springing out of the ground after a forest fire. It's actually quite useful for ecosystems, and it's just another one of these things one of these details which we try to include, just, realism when it comes to geographical and botanical things as well. So we'll get a lot of different types of plants on the road. We get bracken here, a little stand of stinging nettles, that kind of stuff, and that's very important to us as well. Actually, my co-admin, the guy who actually runs the server, believe it or not, he works for NASA, and he's a geologist there. So he actually has advised us a lot on the different stone types as well that we're using, and where stone types would be. So we have sandstone, we have shale, we have granite. In fact, there's some sandstone here just to show you. It's just another rock type which we can use to make stuff look more realistic and look, so it's not just the same type of stone absolutely everywhere. It's all just a grey stone, because that's not how things are in real life. So we're coming into area now that's a little bit more unfinished, but I think it's probably worth showing people stuff that's not entirely done, just to get an idea of how much work we have to put in. So yeah, there's a look. If you look here, actually, it's quite a good example of our geology. Here on top, you see the kind of red sandstone, and then below, that stuff is shale. So it's kind of, you have different layers, and that's all based on realistic geographical layers you get in real life. So yeah, that's just another detail that we put in.
There you go. So you don't just have fun playing Minecraft, you actually learn science too.
You actually learn. We do actually try to teach people about some real life stuff that you don't learn in school. So there is some educational value to the server as well. Oh, this bit here is cool. This is something that even movie people will recognise. This is the famous tree that they hid under when the Nazgul games. There's this
that's
little,
where we are.
this little place. So this is part of the Hobbit's path.
And mushrooms everywhere as part of the film, the shortcut to mushrooms.
Exactly, yeah. A little homage to the film.
So yeah, that's another thing that with this server is, as you just mentioned about the wilderness, but I think you do it really, really well, because I know that there's a lot of, it's just the same stuff over and over again, like trees, fields, but there's always something a little different and something extra to go look for and go explore when you're actually walking around these sections. It's not just the same boring stuff over and over again.
Exactly, yeah, there is a certain degree of individuality, and part of that does stem from the people who build it. You know, everyone has their own aesthetics tastes, you know? Everyone has their own way of doing stuff, and that's a good thing in many ways, because it means that people, when they're building wilderness like this, they'll add their own kind of touches, their own kind of thoughts into it, whilst keeping it realistic and whilst keeping it to a certain level of realism, a certain level of quality that we try to maintain. But this is one of my favourite villages on the Shire, in the Shire. And yeah, it's very nice. And actually, as it transitions towards evening, you can look around. This is a lovely place to walk around in the evening. It's called Pin Cup. It's just in the South Farthing, on the edge of the Green Hill country. And yeah, it's just like one of the nicest places on the server, to be honest, in my opinion. It's the levels, the kind of different levels that everything is built on. Oh, and someone said it today. The different levels that everything is built on is very nice. Just you can fly around actually and just look at the way it's all put together. And it's all on the edge of this forest. Yeah, it's quite large. Oh, and it's been set to morning. And this is quite cool. So this is like something which even applies to people's plots, I suppose, if they're into that. If you come over here to the eastern side, and this is the transition into the woods. It's a really nice little path that you can kind of jump over, and start exploring the wilderness again. So that takes you back into the trees.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a nice place. I'll take you up to this ruined area, and then I think we'll go over to Bree.
Yeah, again, that little fence that like just jumps over into the field or into the forest. It's another realistic thing that you see all the time, and again, the sandstone. It's a really nice texture for the sandstone.
Yep, we have a texture on a server called Wheelie, and even the creator of the Conquest pack himself, Monster Fish, has said that he really likes this guy's texture, so we're very lucky to have him on here. And Wheelie actually created this whole area as well, so he's one of our more talented guys.
And if anyone's noticed the latest update of Conquest, or as of this video anyway, I think 9.5 it might have been, there was a lot of plant textures added in, and a few of those were actually made by Wheelie, sent over to Monster, and he sort of did his own based off those. That's how much he actually likes those textures in the server.
Exactly. So this is a ruin actually. It's something you haven't seen before. So there's a very large kingdom which used to exist, which I think I may have mentioned, called Arnor. They created 3 farming zones, but they also created these great, huge cities. And this is just a remnant of one of their hunting outposts that they built even before the Hobbits came to the Shire. So it's just one of these reminders of this ancient kingdom that used to exist. And we'll have these everywhere, and we will have these very large ruined cities eventually. But just for now, that's something we felt we wanted to include. This isn't specifically in the lore, but then so much of this detail is not. So we do get, even though we are building something based off a world, which I suppose might turn some people off because they'll think, oh well, I have to build in a certain way, and I have to build buildings in a certain configuration or whatever. But 90% of the time that just isn't true. Most of the time, people are very free to build what they want to and build what they like. So within the boundaries of Tolkien's world. So I think there is definitely a very large degree of creativity when you're making this world. It's not just copying block for block. So this is the edge of Bree's farmland.
You're still very much in production of Bree, as we can notice there. You've got a Red Bull tree, and I don't know when we actually get in there. There's maybe half of it, a third of it done.
Exactly. So it's all very much in planning, but I think you get a good sense of what's been built. The fields here are quite different to those in the Shire. They're much larger, much more open plan, and that's based on the fact that in the Shire that stuff is based on fields after the Enclosure Acts in the 1860s, where the fields of England were turned from these very large open plan fields like we have over here with the wheat fields, which are huge, by the way. We place all these wheat blocks by hand. We can't weld edit those. No, they don't work with weld edit, unfortunately, so we had to place those by hand. That was fun.
It's the double high ones, yeah.
Yeah. I can talk about that as well. But anyway, so this is the sort of field you would have seen in England before those acts. This is kind of based off a more feudal thing where you have strip farming, so each farmer owns his own strip. and they kind of raise their own crops within that strip essentially.
Wow, that
But
really
this
goes on
is
forever.
yeah, this server's set in September, so they're just beginning the harvest. So these fields are half done, half harvested. And the wheat itself, some people might wonder why we don't just use the default Minecraft wheat when it comes to this, but actually wheat, before genetic engineering came along, used to be a lot taller. So we added our own wheat fields that can barely see out of them, which is quite cool.
And it does make it feel a lot nicer when you're walking through the wheat field, so it's like the same height as you.
Hmm.
Definitely see some games of hide and seek being played in these wheat fields.
Yeah, that's what people first said actually when we built it. And this is like a little area for the farmers in the centre. When they get tired of harvesting, they can come and sit around.
Yeah,
All these rocks have been moved here, so that's what they used to do. If there were rocks in the field, they would move them over to under the central tree in the middle. That would make it easier for ploughing them. I could go on about fields forever. They're like our obsession on this server.
I actually like that little tree in the picnic area as well, because that shows the level of detail it was on about, and each little thing has its own unique like part to go and explore, because you walk past this and see how big it is and think, well, that's just a big field of wheat, but there's actually detail in there if you go find it.
Exactly. So this is the main entrance to Bree. And yeah, this was built by a guy called Glover, and again, you'll see a lot of floating stuff around Bree, just ignore that stuff. This is all, as I said, a work in progress. So Bree had this dike, and then the hedge itself around it, and then we can walk in the gate. So the gate itself, eventually we intend to have an animation plugin, but for now we just use this smaller side gate in the gate itself, which is something that did happen back then if you just wanted to walk through the gate rather than opening the full thing. So yeah, this is the entrance to Bree. This is the main walk up to it. So if we fly up a bit, actually, just a good demonstration. Around Bree we have these kind of allotments that the individual families will own. We have various barns, and we have a brewery that's in construction. We have an oast house, which is where you would dry out hops for use in brewing. We have a stables. We have a graveyard all the way in the south. Again, it's just a lot of detail. We put in a lot of different things for that you'd need for a functioning settlement of this kind. So Bree's definitely the largest town we've built so far. We're in the process of building by far. It's the only town of men we've built so far. The rest of it's just been Hobbit stuff. Yeah, so it's very much in construction. But over here, this is the prancing pony at the turn of the road.
On the server as well now,
We can actually, yeah. These are people working on Bree at the moment. But yeah, this is the prancing pony, which is the main kind of inn in Bree. It's very famous.
The roof's a very unique style as well with these Bree houses. It's at different heights, and it's got sags and bulges all over, and it's really nice, solid style that you've got going for Bree.
Exactly, yeah. The interesting thing about the Bree style in general, we can look inside the prancing pony actually. The interesting thing about the Bree style is that there is a certain theme to it, but at the same time, Bree is a very old settlement by all accounts. It's at least 3,000 years.
Wow.
That have been used over time, and over the many sort of centuries that Bree's existed, there's been various influences upon it. So there is a certain theme to it, but at the same time, there are different materials that are used across Bree. So this is the main common room of Bree. We could go and look at all the various bedrooms, but yeah, this is the corner where Strider sat in, kind of smoking his pipe. It wasn't here. So you imagine Strider sitting in the shadows, kind of watching the hobbits.
So as you can see, very different to the films, a lot more based on a drawing that Tolkien did, was it?
No, this is just pretty much entirely from our imagination, but Tolkien did describe there being 3 lanterns in the roof, but they weren't very bright, and there was a big fire, and all the tables were packed together, and there was a lot of people packed into this small room and stuff like that. So it's all pretty much from the books. Anyway,
we're actually inside. I want to mention this. A lot of the interiors that you do, you don't just do straight walls and square interiors and like rectangles and stuff like that. You've got these diagonal corridors, and you see how they change, and it makes it feel a lot more realistic and sort of pieced together over time.
Exactly, yeah. It's all to do with kind of making it feel more organic, is the word people use.
Yeah.
It just feels more like it's been built in real life, rather than these very straight lines that you tend to get in some buildings. Yeah, so we can look around B. The favorite part of Bree so far that I personally is this main street, because it's the most completed area, but you'll just see a lot of the kind of detail we put in. Just this wall here, for example, you know, look at the balconies we have and the overhangs and these little, what would you call that, like an awning. Just all that sort of stuff and is very important, I think, to us and just Minecraft building in general.
Yeah, and again with the interiors, you've also got it on the exteriors. You've just got these bits just jutting out almost everywhere, and I could never get the hang of this when I was actually trying to do this style.
Yeah, it's a tough style to get the hang of. There's a nice little courtyard here and stuff like that. So it's the thing with Bree that I'd like to kind of do. There's a lot of things I'd like to do with Bree. I'm the project leader, but one of the things I'd like to do with it is kind of get across a sense of, you know, all these little winding alleys that you can go and explore and all these various things that you can look at. But yeah, this is the main street. We have a lot of professions planned out for these various houses: tailors, carpenters, smiths, cobblers, potters, all these things that, you know, you would get in a town like this.
And again, that adds up to the purpose, because this is quite a large town, and they would have all these different trades and all these different buildings, especially on this main road as well.
Yep, exactly. So this comes out into the area we're planning, actually. So this is all kind of just outlines at the moment, but it is in the process of construction. And actually tomorrow, if you do put this video out today, we're having a Bree build day. So anyone who watches this video early, if you guys want to come on and help apply for builder and quickly apply for builder and help, that would be very much appreciated.
Yeah,
this is a graveyard. Yeah,
the graveyard. So tomorrow it will be the 24th of May, just in case I don't manage to get this video uploaded in time. But I'll try to get it uploaded tonight, and you can go through the application process, and then hopefully tomorrow you'll be able to help out. And
yep, we will have various things that can be done. Oh, there's a grave that's been dug here. It's kind of cool. So we have a few things to be done, and actually, even if you missed this one, there's going to be rebuild days later.
Yeah,
So process.
It's not all going to get done in one day.
This is a cool thing to come towards the end of the video. It's something very different. This is the Catacomb of Bree. Again, something that is not mentioned in the books, but I just thought it'd be a cool detail. You know, you get a very old settlement like this, and you will get a lot of dead people over time. So the walls themselves are actually built of these skull blocks, and it's quite creepy, actually. Probably one of the more creepy places we made so far. There's bones on the floor and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's quite a cool place.
So yeah, again, this adds to the creativity and creative freedom that you've got. As you were saying, like Bree, it's definitely detailed enough in the book, and there's a lot about it, but you can still get away with having stuff like this.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I know as much about Tolkien lore as anyone, pretty much, but you know, I'm not just gonna stick to what the books wrote and absolutely nothing else. And there's so much more that you can add to a settlement like this, and it is important, I think, to get across that sense of a place being alive. You know, of a land that has been lived in and that's very old and that feels like, you know, has had these thousands of years of history as Middle-earth has had. I think that's very important when you're doing something like this, and the Conquest pack especially is very good for that feeling, in my opinion. So on this server there's actually no whitelist. Anyone is absolutely free to join anytime they want. There is of course the mod pack to be installed, but there are instructions on our website, which I'm sure Nick will link below.
Yep. I'll also be doing a video because I ran into a couple of problems, so I'll be doing like the way I installed it as well, just in case anyone has the same problems I did.
Exactly, so you can do a follow-up video with that. It's relatively simple to install, especially for people who have installed Forge mods before. It's not very difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that. But if you want to apply to build, there is a builder application, as you might expect. We don't just let anyone build. So you type in, you go on the server and type in server plot world. You claim your own plot. Anyone who's familiar with the plot plugin will know how to do that. You build, and then you use the builder app on the website in order to apply. And if you have built other stuff in other plot worlds, especially if you've built with Conquest before, you're very free to include that stuff as well. But I would like to see stuff that's Lord of the Rings related and stuff that's been built in our mod pack, just because our mod pack has certain differences with the normal Conquest pack, which you will have to get used to before you can start building here. So, but it's not it's relatively easy to get builded. As long as you're fairly competent, I will accept you and find some place for you on a server. And another thing about the way we run stuff is, you know, anyone who has the builder rank is free to apply for any open project. So it's not just the most experienced people who are free to apply for projects. It's anyone. So we let people, you know, almost as soon as they get builder, have that option to, you know, go their own way and do their own thing, lead their own village, lead their own section of wilderness, you know, whatever takes your fancy, whatever you're good at. And that's what we try to do. We try to kind of make it so that people have their own power and have their own decisions, and have their own creative freedom in that sense.
Okay, so here we go. So this is loaded up onto the forums. I'll just go to the home page and then it shows you this. You go to forums and projects and applications, builder application. And you know, you've just got your name, age. Does it affect you, how old you are?
It shouldn't do, no. I mean, the reason we've included the age thing is just so I can get a sense of, a lot of the time, just people's ages do make a certain difference to the way, I guess, I wouldn't say the way they're treated, but just the way I would interact with them, I guess. But it doesn't really factor into whether I accept them as builder or not. The paramount thing is if you're a good builder or not. I mean, obviously, if a 6-year-old is applying, I'm probably going to have some reservations, but I don't imagine there'll be many. So, yeah.
And as you were saying, you've got the URL, so if you're using, you know, upload your screenshots to stuff, and your plot ID, that's for this server. But yeah, so you can use stuff from the Ardacraft server, because most people watching my videos are going to be from that server. If you've got Lord of the Rings related stuff, or just good medieval based stuff with Conquest pack, upload some pictures from there, but try build something quickly on one of the plot worlds and get a feel for the new blocks in the mod, especially if you want to try and get on for the build day, because there's a lot to take in block wise. And just quickly look at the map as well, show this off, because you've got the Dynamap for your server.
Yes, I think that's a good thing to show, just to get a sense of the scale, because we've only seen a very small part of the server, really.
So this is sort of all of the Shire, and you can see that we're all over here in Bree. So if I actually zoom in a bit, and you can see the size of Bree, and we'll just follow the main road round, you can see how much is still left to be done, and it gives a really nice overview of the farmland over the Shire.
If you click on the ISO view, that'll actually show you a 3D view of everything.
Yep.
On the right hand side.
Oh, that looks really nice.
Yeah, so that's a good better example of just what we've done and what we have left to do on this map section. So this is just something to explain. This is only a very small part of Middle-earth, and the way we work is we are doing it section by section. So this just the Shire and Breeland. There's nothing else in here, which means that obviously when this map section itself is about 7,000 by 3,000 blocks, but when the map is completed, it will be roughly about 50,000 by 48,000. So we're talking about a very large map indeed when it's finished. In fact, one of the largest maps ever created in Minecraft. So yeah, it's going to be very large. And this is really, if you join now, this is really, you're going to be joining from the beginning almost. We've only been going for 6 months since November last year. And so you'll be, if you want to join now, or want to join in the near future, you will be helping us from the near beginning, and there's a long way to go and a lot of stuff to do. So if you are at all interested in Middle-earth and are at all interested in the Conquest pack, this is the server for you, I think.
Yeah, I've just been looking at some of the warps as well on the Dynamap, and you can see there's still a lot of major towns in the Shire that aren't built yet. For people who know the books, like Little Delvin, Mitchell Delvin, and places like that. And if you go back and watch the start of this video for the little walk from Bag End to the 3 Farthing Stone, you can see that that was just these 4 warps here, and how long that took, and then look at the size of the map and just think how long it's going to take to actually explore the whole thing. And this is just, like you said, a small section of the Middle-earth map that you're planning to create.
Absolutely, so it's a very ambitious project, to say the least. And the more builders, the better.
Okay guys, so we're coming to the end of the video. I think all we have left to say is to thank Fornad for taking us on this tour around the server.
No problems at all.
And if you've got any further questions that we haven't answered in the video, put it in the comments below and we'll try answer it to the best of our ability. If not, I'll get Fornad onto it. And the only thing to do is really to go check out the forums and check out the server for yourself. So the link will be in the description, and it's gone nighttime. And that's it. So if you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.